Just to add to the spelling here, you've got a lot of really good words that you've noticed a lot here. Some of the things we notice in spelling is that pronunciation has changed over time, whereas spelling stays. So sometimes we say things slightly different than maybe they were said when the spelling of the word became standard. And we have differences in regions where different regions will say it differently. And it really doesn't matter if you say it differently in your region. You just teach it that we say this sound and we spell it with this letter. So, for instance, in the word behind, uh, I say it where the second syllable is stressed, behind. And so the first syllable is, you barely hear the vowel sound there. But when I'm teaching kids to spell the word, I'll say, let's think to spell behind. Now, I know some people say behind, and that's fine. That's what they say. But whatever it is you say, you can say, let's think behind, and that'll help us spell it. And then you hear the B, and sorry, you hear the E, where the E says E at the end of a syllable, behind. And here, hind, the I is saying I in front of two consonants. And that's one of the rules that I will teach is that I and O may say I and O before two consonants. And we see it saying I in this syllable, even though it's a closed syllable. Now, if you say behind, and everyone says behind where you live, you can say the sound is B, and we spell the sound or the sound or however you say it. Just tell them we spell that with an E in this word. And that's okay. And yes, dictionaries will have different pronunciations. And you look at 3 different dictionaries and you can have 3 different indications of pronunciation or syllable breaks. And that's just the way it is. The next word, chameleon, chameleon. And what happens here, this is, there's a couple of interesting things that happen in this word. First of all, the we know is, we're using the CH to spell the k. And I say chameleon, and I say and I just say, we are going to use the A to spell the sound in chameleon. And yes, it's an unstressed syllable. And in an unstressed syllable, the A says the schwa sound. It's okay. You just tell them we're going to use the A to spell the sound in chameleon. And then we have me. E says E at the end of a syllable. And here it gets tricky. What happens is when we're switching, when we're moving our tongue and our jaw between one sound and the other, we get these slides that happen. And it happens with diphthongs, and here it's happening between the E and the O. You're sliding your tongue in your mouth position, and in doing so, the sound changes. So we can think to spell chameleon and actually say lee on, but we know that when we say it, it kind of comes out as chameleon. And what's happening is you're sliding between the E and the O. You kind of get the y sound in there. And that's okay. But you still get the E sound, right? It's just that what's happening is between the E and the O, you get the Y, right? I don't think anyone says chameleon. You still get an E in there. But whatever it is that you're saying, just tell the kids in this word, we spell it with this letter combination. Or you can tell them we can think to spell chameleon and get rid of the Y as you think to spell that. And it's okay. Like I still say Wednesday every time I go to spell Wednesday, because that helps me to remember to spell it as Wednesday. And it's okay to think to spell certain words to help you remember the letters that are used in that word, like separate. And I overemphasize the R to help me remember it's an AR and not an ER or whatever. So it's okay to think to spell. Village, the word village. Idge. The sound is idge. We have many words where the AGE is used to spell idge. And yes, it's a schwa sound. It's an unaccented syllable. The G is saying J because it has a silent E after it to make the G say J. The E is not going to make the A say A here. It's just there to make the G say J, and the A has a very sloppy sound. I would say village, and it happens in manage and all sorts of words. And I tell my students, if you hear idge at the end of a word, it's often spelled AGE. So if you hear idge, spell it AGE. So in mapping it, if the sound is ill, idge, I'm going to say I spelled it idge, AGE. Word roll, roll, R-O. We have a rule that I and O may say I and O before two consonants, just like it did here. The I says I in front of the two consonants, and here the O says O in front of the two L's. And we see it in so many other words like gold and kind, and some people call them the kind old words or whatever you call them. But I and O may say the long sound I and O, even in a closed syllable, if it's in front of two consonants. Okay, the word butcher. Now, a lot of people teach that the TCH is used after a single short vowel. I think more accurately, some of the programs would teach that use the TCH after a single vowel that is not long. Because not only in butcher, where you have the sound and use the TCH, but also in the word watch, where you have the A saying ah, watch, use the TCH. We do not use the TCH after a long vowel. But if you teach that you use it after a single short vowel, just say, hey, we've got a few words with these extra sounds where the vowel has additional sounds, and we're going to use the TCH. Just tell them we'll use the TCH to spell ch in this word. Toothpaste, okay. So the paste, and the question is, why does the E make the A say A in paste? And it does happen in some words, very few words, but it does happen in some words where the consonants work so closely together that the E affects the sound of the A. It doesn't happen in lots and lots of cases, but it does happen in some. And we have words like mange, or I guess range would be a better example, where the E is making the A say A, because these work very closely together. And in the same way, the ST seems like it works very closely together, as was pointed out in those other words. Favorite, the word favorite, A for it. The sound is it, and it's spelled, and you just tell them, it's spelled with the ITE, it, and a silent E that's not doing a darn thing. And we have many words that end with the ITE, spelling the it sound, like opposite, composite, requisite, prerequisite. Most of them are adjectives, and we see it mostly in adjectives, but I think there's probably some nouns also where the ITE is pronounced it. And you can think of it as that's how we spell this sound. Just tell them we spell the it sound, it, with the IT and a silent E. And pasta, the word that I don't know, you just tell them whatever your pronunciation is, you spell it with a U. So if your pronunciation is you say we're spelling it with a U. If your pronunciation is U, you say we spell it with a U. Using the orthographic mapping, where you just say, hey, here's the sound and here's how I spell it in this word. It's the point of noticing the spelling of the sound. So sound to symbol in sequence that will put the words into long-term memory. And it's okay that they don't follow every rule. You just say this word, we spell it with this sound. Pasta. Some people say pasta and some people say pasta. I say pasta. You just tell them in this word, the sound ah, I'm spelling it with an A. And that's one of the sounds of the A. And it happens that that's what I'm using to spell the ah sound in this word pasta. And this A at the end, uh, A often has the sound at the very beginning or the very end of a word. And it's the schwa sound, but it happens because the word a is often pronounced, it's just a utility word. And we say, I want a bike and I want a piece of chocolate. And we say, So when we have the a at the very beginning or very end of the word, it often uses the schwa sound. Um, just like we say a ball, I might say about. And it's combining syllables together. And the A will often say at the very beginning or very end of a word. And I tell the students, if you hear a sound at the very beginning or very end of a word, it's usually an A. I went out of order, sorry. Okay. Desert and dessert. You just tell them, this is how we're spelling it in this word. Okay, and cycle, and the Y has 3 vowel sounds. Y often usually says E at the end of a multi-syllable word like baby. Y and I both can say I or I at open syllables. In fact, I usually says I even in an open syllable. And that's because in the Latin derived words, yeah, it's, they have fancy terms for it, but the I often will say I, even in open syllables. And same with the Y. The Y can say I or I in an open syllable. So when we have bicycle, if I had cycle, it's saying I, but in bicycle, it's saying I in an open syllable. The Y and the I often say I, even in open syllables. Okay, I hope that helps just give another perspective in addition to what's already been said.